Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to get fairly consistent and relatively quicker results with the AI component and using JSON as your model source or as your data model source. So here on the screen you have an example of the output that we're looking to achieve here, and I'll show you the JSON object that we're working with. And full transparency, I took this from Robert's question within the Glide expert community. So apologies, Robert, if you didn't want to share that. But this is random data that I had ChatGPT generate. So you can see this is my data model. I have an array in it of different objects. And then down here, of course, an AI component. I basically told it to just display the data for me so that I can interact or look at it if I need to. So let me go ahead and show you now how I got to this point. So here's what we're going to start out with, just a blank canvas. Here's my data model, and I want to actually be able to just use that information with the AI component. Now I can sit here and do something like this, where I can say, use my data. And one thing you'll notice, I have a string and an object. I like using the object column just because it seems to recognize things better. And I use string to actually have things like the AI component drop the object in there, or if I want to somehow use an action to drop it in there, just in case I need to dynamically change it. So I'm going to go ahead and set my source as object. And the other thing that I've noticed is I try not to use generic names just because it seems like in the code that it generates at times, if you're using something generic or something that might already be pre-configured, it can definitely cause some confusion. So I'm just going to use the name component data. And you'll notice over here on the right-hand side, I've had this open for a minute, a GPT window. And the reason I have it open is because I created a GPT that will essentially describe the JSON model for me in a pretty extensive amount of detail. Full transparency, I'm not entirely certain how, but at some point I managed to get it to create a description that with pretty solid consistency created pretty good outputs in terms of binding it and in terms of binding the JSON data. And so essentially this is just a GPT that uses that original prompt that I created as the model, and then it will create the description for us. So all I'm going to do now is basically just take my JSON data here. I'm going to drop it in this GPT, and then it will produce, actually, one more thing. Let me come back here. The thing I noticed is I do need to tell it, I'm going to tell it this name right here. So object name is component data, send that. And then it'll give me my description here in a second. And as soon as it does, all I'm going to do is copy and paste that right into the AI component so that it can actually understand what the object is, how it's structured, and be able to essentially see things, at least I believe, uh, in a way like this, where it can actually understand the data in the way that we intended it to be understood, as opposed to just trying to do something like this, like display. This may or may not produce something, but so you can see it will display it. Now I can try and wrestle with it and say, component data is a JSON object, bind it to the component, display the key values. I've had some luck getting, being simpler with the instructions, but generally speaking, when it comes to the JSON, binding JSON objects to the components, I usually don't get the best results with the simpler ones. So here's what I'm going to do is, gotta come back, object, component data. So I've copied my nice long description from over there. I'm going to go ahead and just delete this top portion. I don't care what ChatGPT has to say about it. Oops, sorry. And just to give you a quick overview of what it looks like or what it's doing, it's literally just describing it in detail. The specific key values, if there's an array, the things inside the array. I'm not sure why, but for some reason this seems to also help out. But so I'm going to go ahead and hit send, and hopefully we should get some pretty solid results here. There we go. So you can see it immediately already was able to recognize things much quicker. It decided on its own kind of what design it wanted to do, probably based contextually off of the information. And now at this point, I can just go in and start doing whatever I want to do with it. Now, personally, I like to now ask it to apply unique classes to every element, because then I can start getting much more specific with that. But that's pretty much how I've had pretty good results from this. So hopefully that helps. And as always, please reach out and let me know if you have any questions or if I can help in any way. Take care and happy holidays, everyone.